Frank pulls potatoes from burlap sacks, the rough skin scraping against his calloused palms. 3 months of running the tavern alone has worn grooves into his routine. Wake at 5, start the coffee, prep the breakfast potatoes, open at 6 for the truckers and shift workers who need hot food before dawn breaks over the mountains. The scratching starts while he's washing dirt from the potatoes in the steel sink. Soft at first, like mice in the walls. Then louder, more deliberate. Like fingernails dragging across wood. Frank stops. Water drips from his hands into the silence. The tavern sits empty above him, chairs still stacked on tables from the night before. No customers yet. No staff coming in for another hour. What the hell? The scratching comes again, definitely from below. From the old root cellar he hasn't opened since Mary got sick. She used to store preserves down there, jars of peaches and green beans lined up neat as soldiers. After the cancer took hold, she stopped canning, stopped doing most things that required planning for a future. Frank kneels on the warped kitchen floor, ear pressed against the boards near the stove. The wood smells like years of grease and smoke, like the ghosts of 10,000 meals. He holds his breath, listening. The scratching stops. Then something worse. A voice, thin and small, drifting up through the floorboards. Is someone there? Frank's heart hammers against his ribs. The voice sounds young, lost. Real enough to make his skin crawl with possibilities, none of them good. Hello? Frank finds the loose floorboard Mary always complained about, the one that creaked when you stepped wrong near the stove. His fingers work under the edge, prying it up with the desperation of a man who needs answers more than he fears them. Cold air rushes up from the cellar, carrying the scent of earth and old wood, and something else. Something alive. A child stares up at him from the darkness below. Maybe 8 years old, dirty face streaked with tears that have carved clean lines through the grime. Dark hair hangs in tangles around shoulders too thin, clothes too big. But the eyes. Christ, those eyes look older than Frank feels most days. Jesus Christ, boy, how'd you get down there? The child doesn't answer immediately, just climbs out of the hole with the careful movements of someone who's learned not to trust the ground beneath their feet. Small hands grip the floor edge, pulling up a body that weighs less than it should. Frank backs away, giving the kid space. His mind races through explanations. Runaway, lost hiker, someone's idea of a sick joke. None of them feel right. The child stands in Frank's kitchen, studying him with eyes that seem to catalog every detail. The scar on Frank's left hand, the way he favors his right leg on cold mornings, the coffee stain on his apron that never quite washed out. You're him, ain't you? The one she talked about. She. Who's she? My mama. She said you cooked for her every morning, made her laugh when the pain got bad. The words hit Frank like a physical blow. His chest tightens, breath coming short and sharp. Mary died 3 months ago. Cancer took her slow and mean, eating her from the inside, while Frank watched helpless from the bedside chair that became his second home. Son, I don't know what game you're playing, but this ain't funny. You can't just show up in my cellar talking about, she said you'd have that scar. The boy points to Frank's left hand, where a burn mark runs from thumb to wrist, pink and puckered. 15 years old, but still visible, from when you grabbed the skillet wrong, trying to make her birthday breakfast. Frank steps back like the child just pulled a knife. Only Mary knew about that morning. Her 32nd birthday, Frank trying to surprise her with eggs Benedict he'd never made before. The skillet handle slipped, his bare palm closing around scorching metal. Mary found him at the sink, running cold water over the burn while cursing his own stupidity. She bandaged his hand with dish towels, kissed his forehead, told him the burnt eggs were the best birthday present she'd ever received. They ate cereal instead, laughing until Frank's hand stopped throbbing. How do you know about that? Mama told me. Said you cried over those burnt eggs. Said she loved you more in that moment than she thought was possible. Frank's legs give out. He sits hard in the kitchen chair, staring at this impossible child who speaks with his dead wife's voice. The boy doesn't look like Mary. Wrong coloring, wrong features, but something in his expression, in the way he tilts his head when he's thinking, sends recognition shooting through Frank's chest. Who are you? I'm Tommy. Mama was your wife before she died. The words hang in the air between them like smoke from a grease fire, impossible to ignore and dangerous to breathe. Frank's mind rejects what he's hearing, even as his heart starts accepting it. Mary never mentioned children, never hinted at a past before their marriage. She came to town 15 years ago, took the waitress job at the Tavern, married Frank 2 years later in a simple ceremony with no family present. Said her people were all gone. That Frank was her family now. That's impossible. Mary never had children. We tried for years to... She had me before you, before she came here. Tommy sits across from Frank at the small kitchen table, small hands flat against the scarred wood. This close, Frank can see more details. The boy needs a bath, needs food, needs someone to brush the tangles from his hair, but his eyes are alert, intelligent, carrying a weight that children shouldn't have to bear. Where have you been living? With Grandma Rose, but she died last week, told me to find you, said Mama made her promise. Frank's world tilts sideways. Mary mentioned an aunt named Rose once, maybe twice. Always changed the subject when Frank asked questions. He assumed it was grief, old family wounds that didn't need picking at. Now he wonders what else Mary never told him. Rose. Frank grips the table edge. Where did she live? In the hollow, past Miller's Creek. Frank knows that area. Backwoods families, old cabins hidden in the trees where the county road turns to gravel, then dirt, then nothing. The kind of people who keep to themselves, don't trust outsiders, handle their business without involving law enforcement or government agencies. Why didn't your mama tell me about you? Tommy's face hardens, aging him another year in the space between one breath and the next. She was scared. Of what? Of who took her away the first time. That's impossible. Frank's voice cracks like old leather. Mary never had children. We tried for years to have a baby, lost 3 pregnancies. The doctor said her body couldn't carry to term. She had me before you, before she came here. Tommy sits at the kitchen table, small hands wrapped around a glass of water. Frank poured without thinking. The boy drinks slow, careful sips. Like someone who's learned not to waste anything, Frank can't stop staring at those eyes. Gray-blue, like storm clouds building over the mountains. Like Mary's eyes when she was thinking hard about something she couldn't say out loud. Where have you been living all this time? With Grandma Rose, but she died last week. Heart just stopped while she was feeding the chickens. Told me to find you right before the end. Said Mama made her promise. Rose. Frank grips the counter until his knuckles go white. Mary mentioned an aunt named Rose once, maybe twice. Always changed the subject quick when he asked follow-up questions. He figured it was old family pain, the kind that festers if you poke at it too much. She lived in the hollow, past Miller's Creek, where the road turns to dirt. Frank knows that area. Backwoods families. Old cabins hidden in the trees where the county doesn't bother sending mail or power lines. The kind of people who keep to themselves, don't trust outsiders, handle their own problems without involving law or government. He drove through there once looking for a shortcut to the lumber mill. Got turned around for hours on roads that didn't match any map. How long were you with Rose? Since I was 3. Mama would visit sometimes, but not often. Said it wasn't safe. Safe from what? Tommy's face hardens, aging him beyond his years. From who took her away the first time. The kitchen goes quiet except for the old clocks ticking above the sink. Each second sounds loud as a gunshot. Frank sits across from Tommy, studying the boy's features in the morning light streaming through the window. The shape of his nose, narrow and straight. The way he holds his mouth when he's thinking. Lips pressed together like he's keeping secrets from escaping. Details that remind Frank of Mary in ways that make his chest tight. Tell me about your father. Don't got one. Mama said he was a bad man. Real bad. Said if he ever found us, terrible things would happen. Frank's stomach turns over. What kind of terrible things? Tommy looks straight at him with those storm cloud eyes. The kind that made Mama run away in the middle of the night, carrying me through the woods. The kind that made her change her name and pretend I never existed. Frank's hands start shaking again. He shoves them under the table, trying to hide the tremor. Mary's maiden name was Sinclair. That's what it said on their marriage license, on all the official papers. But sometimes, late at night, when she thought he was sleeping, he'd catch her writing letters by lamplight at the kitchen table. Always signed them with a different name. Beth Carver, He asked her about it once. She said it was her pen name, that she liked writing stories under a different identity. Made sense at the time. Now it feels like another lie in a marriage apparently built on them. Tommy, what was your mama's real name? The boy's voice drops to a whisper. Beth, but she made me promise never to say it. Said it would bring him back. Bring who back? The bad man. Her first husband. Frank feels like someone punched him in the gut. First husband. Mary was married before. When she was real young, 16, I think. He was older, important, had money and power and people who did whatever he wanted. What happened? Tommy takes another careful sip of water. He hurt her. Bad. Mama showed me the scars once when I asked why she jumped every time thunder rolled too loud. Frank remembers Mary's scars. Thin white lines across her back that she said came from falling off a horse when she was a kid. The way she flinched when he touched her without warning, like her body expected pain instead of gentleness. How she always slept facing the door, even after they'd been married for years. She told you about the scars. Said they were reminders. Said some men think they own women like property, and when the women try to leave, bad things happen. But she did leave. When I was 3, took me in the middle of the night and ran. We walked through the woods for days. Mama was hurt, bleeding from where he'd beaten her. Could barely carry me, but she wouldn't stop moving. Frank's throat closes up. Why didn't she take you with her when she came here? Because he was looking for her. Had people searching. If they found me with her, they'd know for sure who she was. So she left me with Grandma Rose and came here alone. Started over as Mary Sinclair. But the name, Beth Carver. Why did she still use it in letters? Tommy's voice gets smaller. Because that was her real name. Her maiden name before she married the bad man. She kept it alive in those letters to Rose, like keeping a piece of herself safe. Frank stares at this boy, who's dismantling everything he thought he knew about his wife. 15 years of marriage, and Mary never told him she'd been married before, never mentioned having a son, never explained the nightmares that made her wake up screaming sometimes, or why she always kept a bag packed in the closet like she was ready to run at a moment's notice. What else did she tell you about me? Tommy's face softened slightly. Said you were kind. Said you made her laugh for the first time in years. Said when you burned your hand making breakfast, she knew you were different from the bad man. Different how? The bad man never cooked for her, never did anything that might serve her instead of the other way around. Mama said watching you cry over those burnt eggs was when she knew she was safe. Frank remembers that morning. Mary's 32nd birthday. He wanted to surprise her with something fancy, something that showed how much he cared. Instead, he ended up with second-degree burns and ruined eggs, while Mary bandaged his hand with dish towels and kissed his forehead. They ate cereal that morning, laughing until his hand stopped throbbing. She really told you about that? Every detail. Said it was the moment she decided to stop running, to build a life here with you. Then why didn't she bring you? Why keep you hidden? Tommy's eyes fill with tears he won't let fall. Because the bad man never stopped looking. And Mama knew that if he ever found her, the first thing he'd do is hurt anyone she loved. Including you. Including me. Frank reaches across the table, covers Tommy's small hand with his scarred one. What was his name, son? This bad man who hurt your mama? Tommy looks up, and for a moment, Frank sees Mary's face in the boy's features. The same stubborn courage, the same quiet strength. Marcus Webb, and Mama said he'd kill us both if he ever found out I was still alive. Chapter 3. Letters in the Attic. Frank leaves Tommy sleeping in Mary's sewing room and climbs the narrow stairs to the attic. The boy curled up on the old daybed, wrapped in the quilt Mary stitched during her last good months. If his wife kept secrets, buried pieces of a life she never shared, the attic is where they'd be hiding. Dust motes dance in the morning light filtering through the small window. Frank moves past Christmas decorations from holidays that feel like someone else's memories now. Past boxes of Mary's clothes he hasn't had the strength to donate. Past the wedding dress she wore 15 years ago, wrapped in tissue paper and tucked away like hope for a future that never came. Behind old quilts his grandmother made, he finds it. A wooden box, plain and unmarked, shoved far back under the eaves where someone would have to be looking to find it. The lock is broken, has been for years by the look of it. Inside, letters, dozens of them tied with ribbon and organized by date, all addressed to Rose Carver, Miller Creek Hollow. Frank's hands shake as he opens the first letter, Mary's handwriting, but signed with a different name. The date makes his chest tight. 5 years ago, 2 years into their marriage, when he thought they were happy. Rose. He's getting closer. Asked Sheriff Williams about women matching my description. I can't risk seeing Tommy. Not yet. Keep him safe. Tell him Mama loves him more than the mountains love the sky. B. The words blur. Frank blinks hard, reads the next letter, Rose. Tell Tommy I dream about him every night. Draw him pictures of the mountains so he knows where his mama lives. Send him my love, but don't tell him it's from me. Not safe yet. B. The letters pile up in his lap. Years of correspondence he never knew existed. Mary writing to a grandmother and a son she pretended didn't exist while she made breakfast and mended his shirts and shared his bed every night. Rose. Frank doesn't know. Can't know. If Marcus finds out I have a son, he'll use the boy to make me come back. I won't let that happen. I'd rather die first. B. The name Marcus appears in every letter. Sometimes Senator Marcus, sometimes just him. Like the name itself carries too much weight to write out fully, Frank feels sick reading his wife's fear, the way she counted days between sightings, the way she changed her routine whenever a stranger asked questions in town. Rose. Saw his car today. Black sedan, county plates. He drove past the tavern twice. I hid in the kitchen until he left. May have to disappear again. Tell Tommy not to look for me if I go silent. B. Frank's anger builds with each letter. This Marcus, whoever he is, haunted Mary for 15 years, made her afraid to love her own son, afraid to live her own life. The woman Frank married was always looking over her shoulder, always ready to run. In the final letter, dated 2 weeks before Mary died, her handwriting shaky from the cancer eating her strength, the words hit like physical blows. Rose. Cancer's winning. Doctor says weeks, not months. When I'm gone, bring Tommy to Frank. He's good. He'll love the boy like I should have been able to. But watch for black cars. Marcus has people everywhere. Don't let him take my son. Please. B. Frank hears footsteps on the attic stairs. Tommy climbs up, rubbing sleep from his eyes, hair sticking up in directions that make him look even younger than 8. You found them. You knew about these? Grandma Rose read some to me. The parts about you being kind, the parts about Mama missing me. Frank holds up one of the letters, his voice hoarse. Who's Marcus, Tommy? Tell me everything. Tommy's face goes pale as winter sky. The bad man, Mama's first husband. Husband? Frank's world tilts again. She was married to him. She was real young, 16. He was older, important, had money and power and people who did whatever he wanted them to do. Tommy sits cross-legged on the dusty floor, picking at a loose thread on his jeans. Frank can see the boy choosing his words careful, like he's walking through a minefield of memories. What did he do to her? Grandma Rose said he hurt her, made her have parties for his friends, rich men who came to the house and treated Mama like she wasn't even human. Frank's jaw clenches so hard his teeth hurt. What kind of parties? Tommy's voice gets smaller. The kind where they took pictures, where they made her do things. Grandma Rose wouldn't tell me details, but she said Mama was like a prisoner in her own house. The letters crumple in Frank's grip. He thinks about Mary's nightmares, the way she'd wake up screaming sometimes, clawing at the air like she was fighting invisible hands. The way she never liked being photographed, always turned away when he tried to take her picture. When did she try to leave the first time? When she found out she was pregnant with me. She was 17 then, tried to run away, but he had people watching. They brought her back. What happened? Tommy's eyes fill with tears he won't let fall. He beat her real bad, put her in the hospital, told the doctors she fell down the stairs, said if she ever tried to leave again, he'd kill both of us. Frank pulls the boy close, feeling Tommy's thin shoulders shake. But she did leave. She got you out. When I was 3, took 2 years of planning. She pretended to be a good wife, acted like she'd given up fighting. But she was gathering money, studying maps, learning the woods around the house. How did you get away? Middle of the night. She drugged his drink, took me while he was unconscious. We walked through the forest for days. Mama was hurt, bleeding from where he'd beaten her earlier that week. Could barely carry me, but she wouldn't stop moving. Frank thinks about Mary's scars again, the thin white lines across her back, the old break in her wrist that never set right, the way she jumped when thunder rolled too loud, evidence of a war he never knew she fought. Tommy. Is Marcus still alive? Grandma Rose said he became a senator, rich and powerful, with friends who help him hide what he really is. Before Tommy can say more, gravel crunches in the tavern's parking lot below. Through the small attic window, Frank sees a black sedan pull into the gravel lot, dust kicking up behind expensive tires. Two men in dark suits get out, moving with the practiced efficiency of people used to handling problems quietly. Tommy grabs Frank's arm, fingernails digging into skin. He found us. Frank gathers the letters, shoving them back into the wooden box. How could he know you're here? Rose said he has people everywhere, sheriffs, judges, politicians. Maybe someone saw me climbing out of your cellar. The men are walking toward the tavern's front door now, their faces hidden behind sunglasses despite the overcast sky. Frank recognizes the type, clean-cut, well-dressed, probably armed. The kind of men who solve problems for important people without asking inconvenient questions. Tommy, listen to me. There's a way out through the back of the attic. Goes down to the kitchen roof, then you can drop to the woodshed. What about you? I'll handle these men. Buy you time to get to the woods. Tommy shakes his head fierce. Mama said you were good, but good men die when they fight monsters. The pounding starts on the front door below, loud and official and impatient. Frank looks at this boy who carries his wife's secrets, his wife's strength, his wife's stubborn courage, in eyes too old for his young face. Then we run together, son, like your mama taught you. Frank and Tommy climb down from the attic as someone pounds on the tavern's front door. Heavy fists against wood, demanding and official. The wooden box of letters sits hidden behind Frank's back, evidence of 15 years of secrets he's still trying to understand. Sheriff's Department. Open up. Frank recognizes Sheriff Williams' voice immediately. The man's eaten at the tavern twice a week for 10 years, always orders the same thing. Fried chicken and black coffee, extra sugar. Williams knows Frank's routine, knows he opens early for the truckers and mill workers. This isn't a social call. Stay here, Frank whispers to Tommy, pushing the boy toward the kitchen. Don't come out no matter what happens. You hear me? Tommy nods, eyes wide with the kind of fear that comes from experience. The boy disappears into the shadows near the pantry, like he's done this before, learned to make himself invisible when dangerous men come calling. Frank takes a deep breath, composes his face into something neutral, and unlocks the front door. Williams stands on the porch with Deputy Harris, both men looking uncomfortable in the morning light. Williams removes his hat, runs a hand through thinning gray hair. Harris keeps his sunglasses on, hand resting casual on his service weapon. Morning, Frank. Sorry to bother you this early. What's this about, Sheriff? Got a call about a missing boy. Tommy Carver, 8 years old. Been gone since his grandmother died last week up in the hollow. Frank keeps his face neutral, though his heart hammers against his ribs. Don't know any Tommy Carver. Don't get many kids in here anyway. Williams shifts his weight, studying Frank's expression. Frank, I'm gonna ask you straight. You hiding a kid in there? Why would I do that? Because word is, his mama might have been someone you knew, someone you cared about. Frank's mouth goes dry. I don't know what you're talking about. Deputy Harris speaks up for the first time, voice flat and professional. We got orders to search the building, check every room, every closet, every place a scared boy might hide. Orders from who? Williams won't meet Frank's eyes. State Senator Marcus Webb. Says the boy's his stepson. Says the grandmother was keeping him illegally away from his rightful family. Frank's blood turns cold. Marcus Webb. He's seen the name in newspapers, heard it on radio talk shows. Rich family owns half the county. The kind of man who gets what he wants through money and influence and carefully applied pressure. Since when do senators send sheriffs on custody calls? Since they pay for campaign funds. Williams says quietly, still not looking at Frank. Frank, I don't like this either, but Webb's got lawyers. Says he's got documents proving legal guardianship. What if the boy doesn't want to go with him? Doesn't matter what the boy wants. Law's the law. Frank hears a noise from the kitchen, the back door creaking open on hinges that need oil. Tommy's running. The boy listened to the conversation, heard Marcus Webb's name, decided to bolt rather than wait for capture. Williams hears it too. His head snaps up, eyes sharp. Harris, Reike, check the back of the building, now. Wait. Frank steps forward, blocking the doorway. Let's say there is a boy here. Let's say he's scared of this Webb character. What happens to him? He goes to his legal guardian, man who's been looking for him for 5 years. And if that guardian hurt his mother, if that's why she ran away in the first place. William's face hardens. Frank, don't make this harder than it has to be. Webb's got photos, birth certificates, marriage licenses. The woman who ran away with that boy was his wife, legally married. She stole his child. She was protecting her child. From what? Webb showed me the police reports. Beth Carver was unstable, drug problems, threatened to hurt herself and the boy. He was trying to get her help when she disappeared with his son. Frank realizes how deep Marcus's lies go, how long he's been building this story. Every document, every report, every official record crafted to make Mary look like the villain and Marcus like the concerned husband and father. Those reports are fake. You got proof of that. Frank thinks about Mary's letters hidden in the wooden box, her desperate correspondence with Rose. Would they be enough evidence? Or would Marcus have explanations for those too? More lies layered on top of 15 years of deception. I got proof that Mary was a good woman, kind, gentle, not the kind to hurt anyone. Mary? Williams frowns. Frank, we're talking about Beth Carver, Webb's wife. Same woman. She changed her name when she came here. So, you admit you knew her? You admit the boy was here? Frank stepped into a trap without realizing it. Williams may be uncomfortable with his orders, but he's still a lawman doing his job. Frank's just confessed to harboring a missing child. Deputy Harris returns from the back of the building, shaking his head. Boy's gone. Ran into the woods. But I found this. He holds up one of Tommy's dirty sneakers, the laces broken from being tied and retied too many times. Evidence that the boy was here, that Frank's been lying. William sighs, puts his hat back on. Frank, we know he was here. Now he's running scared through the woods. Help us find him before he gets hurt, before he falls in a creek or gets lost or eaten by something with teeth. I don't know where he went. You know these woods better than anyone. You've been hunting them for 20 years. Frank does know the woods, knows every deer trail and hidden cave, every creek crossing and abandoned cabin. But he also knows what Mary wrote in her letters, that Marcus has people everywhere, that he'll use Tommy to hurt anyone the boy cares about. Sheriff, what if I told you that Senator Webb isn't the boy's father? What if I told you he's the monster the boy's running from? Williams studies Frank's face. I'd say you better have proof. Real proof. Because right now, all I got is legal documents that say otherwise. Harris walks back to their patrol car, speaking into his radio, calling for backup probably, maybe dogs to track Tommy through the forest. Frank, this is your last chance to do this easy. Tell me where the boy might run. Help me bring him in safe. Frank looks at Williams, a man he's known for a decade. A man who's eaten Frank's cooking and talked about his grandchildren and complained about county politics over coffee and pie. A good man caught between orders and conscience. Sheriff, that boy's been hurt enough. I won't help you deliver him to the man who hurt his mother. Williams nods like he expected that answer. Then we do this the hard way. Harris, call for the search dogs and get me that helicopter from the state police. We're going to find this boy before dark. Frank leads the sheriff's search party in the wrong direction, his boots crunching over fallen leaves as he guides them away from where Tommy actually ran. He knows these woods like he knows the lines on his own hands. Spent 15 years hunting here with Mary, learning every deer trail and creek crossing, every hollow where the fog settles thick in the mornings. Boy could have gone anywhere, Frank tells Williams, pointing toward a ridge that leads away from the old mining country. Lot of caves up that way, easy to get lost. Williams follows, Deputy Harris behind him, both men breathing hard in the thin mountain air. They're not woodsmen. They're town cops, more comfortable with patrol cars than hiking boots. Frank leads them in circles for 2 hours, always staying just far enough ahead that they can't see his face when he lies about tracking signs. Found some broken branches here, Frank calls out, snapping a twig himself when no one's looking. Boys panicked, moving fast. Which direction? North, toward the old lumber road. Williams wipes sweat from his forehead. How much further? Could be anywhere by now. Woods go on for 50 miles in every direction. After 2 hours of climbing ridges that lead nowhere, Williams calls off the search. The sheriff stands on a rocky outcrop, looking out over endless green forest, and Frank can see the frustration in his shoulders. We'll be back tomorrow with dogs, Williams tells Frank, and more men. State police are sending a helicopter. Tell the boy it'll be easier if he comes willing. Don't know where he is, Sheriff. Frank, I've known you 10 years. You're not a liar by nature, but you're lying now. Frank meets Williams's eyes. Sometimes lying is the right thing to do. Williams nods like he understands, even if he can't say so out loud. Just remember, I got a job to do. And Marcus Webb's got a long reach. Frank waits until the sheriff's cars disappear down the mountain road, then heads deeper into the woods. He knows where Tommy went. The place Mary showed him once, made him swear never to tell another soul about. Her secret sanctuary, hidden where no one would think to look. The old mine shaft sits concealed behind fallen trees and brush so thick you'd walk past it without noticing. Mary called it her thinking place. Said she came here when the cancer pain got bad, when she needed to remember who she was before the fear took hold. Frank pushes through the undergrowth, following a path only Mary knew existed. The mine entrance appears like a wound in the hillside, boarded up decades ago, but with gaps wide enough for a small person to slip through. He finds Tommy sitting at the mouth of the shaft, clutching a metal box against his chest like it contains everything that matters in the world. Found Mama's hiding spot. What's in there, son? Tommy opens the box with hands that shake slightly. Inside, photographs, newspaper clippings yellowed with age, and a cassette tape labeled in Mary's careful handwriting. For Tommy, the truth. The photographs make Frank's stomach turn over. Mary as a teenager, bruises covering her thin arms like dark fingerprints. Mary pregnant, her left eye swollen completely shut, lip split and bleeding. Mary in a hospital bed. Medical charts visible at the foot of the bed showing broken ribs, internal bleeding, trauma consistent with severe beating. Jesus Christ. Tommy spreads out the newspaper clippings on the ground between them. Missing persons reports from 15 years ago. A young woman named Beth Carver, last seen leaving County General Hospital against medical advice. Private investigators hired to find her. Rewards offered for information. Grandma Rose kept all this? Mama told her too. Said someday people would need proof. Frank picks up the cassette tape, turns it over in his scarred hands. You listened to this yet? Was waiting for you. Frank finds an old battery-powered recorder in the bottom of the box. The batteries are nearly dead, but there's enough power left. He presses play, and Mary's voice fills the forest around them, weak but determined. Tommy, if you're hearing this, then I'm gone, and you're in danger. The man who calls himself your daddy isn't your daddy. He's the man who hurt me, who hurt other girls, who has powerful friends who help him hide what he does. Frank's hands clench into fists. Tommy stares at the recorder like it's his mother's ghost speaking directly to him. Mary's voice breaks on the tape. I was 16 when he married me. My parents sold me to him, basically, for money, for his family's political influence. I tried to be a good wife, but nothing was ever enough. He brought other men to the house, made me entertain them, made me do things no woman should have to do. The forest goes quiet, except for Mary's recorded words and Tommy's soft crying. When I got pregnant with you, I thought maybe he'd change. Maybe having a baby would make him gentle. But he got worse. Jealous. Said you weren't his child. Beat me so bad I almost lost you twice. That's when I knew I had to run. Tommy wipes tears from his cheeks with the back of his hand. We lived good years, didn't we, baby? In the hollow with Grandma Rose. But I always knew he'd find us eventually. That's why I had to leave you there. Had to make him think you died in that car accident. Had to become someone else. Mary coughs on the tape, the sound wet and painful, full of the cancer that was already eating her alive. Frank doesn't know about you, but he's a good man. He'll love you like I should have been able to. But Tommy, you got to be smart. Marcus has judges, sheriffs, politicians in his pocket, Money can buy a lot of silence. The only way to stop him is to make his secrets public. Really public, where his powerful friends can't cover for him anymore. The tape goes quiet except for Mary's labored breathing. There's more evidence hidden at the old Carver place, in the well behind the house where I grew up. Pictures, documents, names of other girls he hurt. Everything you'll need to make sure he can't hurt nobody else ever again. Frank stares at the recorder as Mary's voice fades to static. Tommy looks up at him with those storm cloud eyes that are so much like his mother's. Will you help me get it? Frank studies the photographs spread on the ground. Mary so young in them, barely older than a child herself. So broken, but something alive in her eyes even through the pain. Something that refused to surrender. Yeah, boy, we'll get it. Tommy starts packing the evidence back into the metal box. Mama said the well's got a false bottom. Said she hid things there before she ran the first time, hoping someday someone would find them. How far is the old Carver place? 2 miles through the deep woods. Grandma Rose took me there once, showed me where Mama grew up. Frank helps Tommy secure the box's latch. We'll go tonight, after the search parties give up for the day. That's when Frank hears something that makes his blood freeze. Dogs barking in the distance, getting closer. The search teams came back sooner than Williams promised. They came back with the search dogs. Tommy grabs Frank's hand, small fingers cold and tight. The old Carver place ain't far. Maybe 2 miles if we go straight through the deep woods. Can you make it without trails? Mama taught me to walk quiet through the forest, like a ghost. Frank shoulders his hunting pack, checks the compass on his watch. Then we move now. Stay close to me and don't make a sound. They disappear deeper into the forest as flashlight beams sweep through the trees behind them, and the barking of search dogs echoes off the mountain walls like the howling of something hungry and relentless. Frank leads the sheriff's search party in the wrong direction, his boots crunching over fallen leaves as he guides them away from where Tommy actually ran. He knows these woods like he knows the lines on his own hands. Every ridge and hollow mapped in his memory. Spent 15 years hunting here with Mary, learning every deer trail and creek crossing, every place where the fog settles thick in the mornings, and every cave where animals shelter from winter storms. Boy could have gone anywhere, Frank tells Williams, pointing toward a ridge that leads away from the old mining country. Lot of caves up that way. Easy to get lost if you don't know where you're going. Williams follows, Deputy Harris behind him. Both men breathing hard in the thin mountain air. They're not woodsmen. They're town cops, more comfortable with patrol cars than hiking boots, better suited to traffic stops than tracking children through dense forest. Frank leads them in circles for 2 hours, always staying just far enough ahead that they can't see his face when he lies about tracking signs. Found some broken branches here, Frank calls out, snapping a twig himself when no one's looking. Boys panicked, moving fast, not thinking straight. Which direction? North, toward the old lumber road that runs to the county line. Williams wipes sweat from his forehead with his sleeve. How much further could he have gotten? Could be anywhere by now. Woods go on for 50 miles in every direction. Easy to walk in circles if you're scared. After 2 hours of climbing ridges that lead nowhere useful, Williams finally calls off the search. The sheriff stands on a rocky outcrop, looking out over endless green forest that stretches to the horizon, and Frank can see the frustration building in his shoulders. We'll be back tomorrow with dogs, Williams tells Frank, breathing hard. And more men. State police are sending a helicopter with thermal imaging. Tell the boy it'll be easier if he comes willing. Don't know where he is, Sheriff. Told you that already. Frank, I've known you 10 years. You're not a liar by nature. Never seen you tell so much as a white lie. But you're lying now. Frank meets Williams' eyes without flinching. Sometimes lying is the right thing to do. Williams nods like he understands, even if he can't say so out loud. Just remember, I got a job to do. Orders from above. And Marcus Webb's got a long reach in this county. Frank waits until the sheriff's cars disappear down the winding mountain road, then heads deeper into the woods. He knows exactly where Tommy went. The place Mary showed him once, years ago. Made him swear never to tell another soul about. Her secret sanctuary, hidden where no one would ever think to look. The old mine shaft sits concealed behind fallen trees and brush so thick you'd walk right past it without noticing. Mary called it her thinking place, said she came here when the cancer pain got too bad to bear, when she needed to remember who she was before the fear took hold of her life. Frank pushes through the undergrowth, following a path only Mary knew existed. The mine entrance appears like a wound in the hillside, boarded up decades ago, but with gaps wide enough for a small person to slip through. He finds Tommy sitting at the mouth of the shaft, clutching a metal box against his chest like it contains everything that matters in the world. Found Mama's hiding spot. What's in there, son? Tommy opens the box with hands that shake slightly. Inside, photographs, newspaper clippings yellowed with age, and a cassette tape labeled in Mary's careful handwriting, "For Tommy, the truth." The photographs make Frank's stomach turn over hard. Mary as a teenager, bruises covering her thin arms like dark fingerprints. Mary pregnant, her left eye swollen completely shut, lip split and bleeding down her chin. Mary in a hospital bed, medical charts visible at the foot of the bed showing broken ribs, internal bleeding, trauma consistent with severe beating. Jesus Christ. Tommy spreads out the newspaper clippings on the ground between them with careful precision. Missing persons reports from 15 years ago. A young woman named Beth Carver, last seen leaving County General Hospital against medical advice. Private investigators hired to find her. Substantial rewards offered for information. Grandma Rose kept all this. Mama told her to. Said someday people would need proof of what really happened. Frank picks up the cassette tape, turns it over in his scarred hands. You listened to this yet? Was waiting for you. Thought maybe we should hear it together. Frank finds an old battery-powered recorder in the bottom of the box. The batteries are nearly dead, but there's enough power left. He presses play, and Mary's voice fills the forest around them, weak but determined. Tommy, if you're hearing this, then I'm gone, and you're in danger. The man who calls himself your daddy isn't your daddy. He's the man who hurt me, who hurt other girls, who has powerful friends who help him hide what he does. Frank's hands clench into fists. Tommy stares at the recorder like it's his mother's ghost, speaking directly to him from beyond death. Mary's voice breaks on the tape. I was 16 when he married me. My parents sold me to him, basically, for money, for his family's political influence. I tried to be a good wife, but nothing was ever enough. He brought other men to the house, made me entertain them, made me do things no woman should ever have to do. The forest goes quiet, except for Mary's recorded words and Tommy's soft crying. When I got pregnant with you, I thought maybe he'd change. Maybe having a baby would make him gentle, but he got worse, jealous, said you weren't his child, beat me so bad I almost lost you twice. That's when I knew I had to run. Tommy wipes tears from his cheeks with the back of his hand. We lived good years, didn't we, baby? In the hollow with Grandma Rose. But I always knew he'd find us eventually. That's why I had to leave you there. Had to make him think you died in that car accident. Had to become someone else entirely. Mary coughs on the tape, the sound wet and painful, full of the cancer that was already eating her alive. Frank doesn't know about you, but he's a good man. He'll love you like I should have been able to. But Tommy, you got to be smart. Marcus has judges, sheriffs, politicians in his pocket. Money can buy a lot of silence. The only way to stop him is to make his secrets public. Really public, where his powerful friends can't cover for him anymore. The tape goes quiet except for Mary's labored breathing. There's more evidence hidden at the old Carver place, in the well behind the house where I grew up. Pictures, documents, names of other girls he hurt. Everything you'll need to make sure he can't hurt nobody else ever again. Frank stares at the recorder as Mary's voice fades to static. Tommy looks up at him with those storm cloud eyes that are so much like his mother's. Will you help me get it? Frank studies the photographs spread on the ground. Mary so young in them, barely older than a child herself. So broken, but something alive in her eyes, even through the pain. Something that refused to surrender. Yeah, boy, we'll get it. Tommy starts packing the evidence back into the metal box. Mama said the well's got a false bottom. Said she hid things there before she ran the first time, hoping someday someone would find them. How far is the old Carver place? 2 miles through the deep woods. Grandma Rose took me there once, showed me where Mama grew up. Frank helps Tommy secure the box's latch. We'll go tonight, after the search parties give up for the day. That's when Frank hears something that makes his blood freeze solid. Dogs barking in the distance, getting closer. The search teams came back sooner than Williams promised. They came back with the search dogs. Tommy grabs Frank's hand, small fingers cold and tight. The old Carver place ain't far, maybe 2 miles if we go straight through the deep woods. Can you make it without trails? Mama taught me to walk quiet through the forest, like a ghost. Frank shoulders his hunting pack, checks the compass on his watch. Then we move now. Stay close to me and don't make a sound. They disappear deeper into the forest as flashlight beams sweep through the trees behind them, and the barking of search dogs echoes off the mountain walls like the howling of something hungry and relentless. The Carver place sits in a clearing like a broken tooth, all jagged edges and decay. Roof caved in from years of neglect, windows dark as empty eye sockets staring out at the forest. Weeds grow through the front porch where paint peels in long strips, and the whole structure leans sideways like it's tired of standing upright. Tommy leads Frank around back, stepping careful over rotted boards and rusted nails. An old stone well sits behind the house, covered by boards so rotten they're more like wet cardboard. The smell of stagnant air and old secrets rises from the gaps. Mama hid things down there in a metal trunk. Said the water's been dry for 20 years. Frank pries off the boards with his bare hands, wood crumbling at his touch. A rope hangs down into blackness that seems to swallow light. He pulls out his flashlight, ties it to the end of the rope, lowers it into the depths. 30 feet below, the beam catches something metallic. I'll go down. No. Tommy grabs his arm with surprising strength. I'm smaller, and Mama told me exactly where to look. Before Frank can stop him, Tommy swings his legs over the edge and starts climbing down the rope hand over hand. Frank's heart hammers as he watches the boy disappear into darkness, holding the rope steady with white knuckles. You okay down there? Yeah, it's not as deep as it looks. Found the trunk. Tommy's voice echoes up from below, hollow and strange. Frank hears scraping sounds, metal against stone. Got it. Pull me up. Frank helps haul Tommy and the trunk to the surface, muscles straining against the weight. The metal container is bigger than the box from the mine shaft, older, covered in rust and dirt. Tommy wipes the lid clean with his sleeve. Mama said she put this here before she ran the first time. Her insurance, she called it. Frank pries open the lid. Inside, more photographs, but these are different. Organized in file folders, labeled with names and dates and medical information. Clinical, systematic, like someone keeping careful records of destruction. The photographs make Frank sick to look at. Young girls, some who look barely 15, their faces swollen and bruised beyond recognition. Hospital photos showing injuries that tell stories of violence too deliberate to be accidents. Sarah Collins, 1987, broken jaw, cigarette burns on her arms. Melissa Torres, 1990, hospitalized for internal bleeding, miscarriage at 16. Janet Price, 1993, suicide attempt, overdose of pills found in her system. Jesus. Tommy sits beside him on the ground, looking through the files with eyes too old for his face. How many girls did he hurt? Frank counts the folders, his stomach turning with each name. 17 girls over 30 years. Some died young from injuries or overdoses. Some disappeared without explanation. Some, like Mary, managed to run far enough to survive. At the bottom of the trunk, Frank finds official documents that make everything worse. Birth certificates showing girls married at 15 and 16. Marriage licenses signed by judges who should have known better. Death certificates for young women who died of mysterious accidents or sudden illnesses. We got him, Frank says, voice hoarse. This evidence will put him away forever. Will it? Mama always said he had friends everywhere. That's when they hear the footsteps, heavy boots crushing dead leaves, moving with purpose through the forest. Frank looks up to see 2 men emerge from the tree line, stepping into the clearing like they own it. Not Sheriff Williams this time. These men wear expensive suits despite the rough terrain, their shoes polished and their ties straight. They move like soldiers, controlled and efficient, hands positioned near concealed weapons. Senator Webb would like his property back, the taller man says. His voice is calm, professional, like he's conducting business in a boardroom instead of threatening people in a forest. Frank stands, putting himself between Tommy and the men. What property? The boy. The documents. The photographs. Everything that belongs to the senator's family. This is evidence of crimes. This is the confused rambling of a mentally ill woman who stole a child and ran away from her legal husband. The second man pulls out a manila folder, spreads papers on the ground like he's making a presentation. We have documentation, medical records showing Beth Carver's psychological instability. Court orders granting Senator Webb full custody of his minor son. Frank looks at the papers. They look official enough. Government stamps, notarized signatures, legal language that sounds important. But he knows they're lies wrapped in authority, bought and paid for by a man with enough money to rewrite history. Tommy ain't going anywhere. Both men pull guns, movement smooth and practiced. The weapons appear in their hands like magic, pointed steady and sure. Sir, we'd rather handle this quietly. The boy comes with us. You forget you ever saw him. Everyone goes home safe. Frank's mind races through options. 2 armed men, 1 old cook, 1 scared boy. The math doesn't work in their favor unless he can find another way. Tommy steps forward, his small voice cutting through the tension like a knife. I got something to say. The tall man laughs. Kid, you don't understand what's happening here. My mama left a tape. Says if anything happens to her or me, copies of all this evidence go to 3 different newspapers. Says she mailed letters to reporters in the state capitol. Frank stares at Tommy. This isn't true. Mary never mentioned reporters in her letters or on her tape. But the boy's voice is steady as stone, convincing as a professional liar. Letters that don't arrive on schedule. Bad things happen to Senator Webb's reputation. The men exchange glances, uncertainty flickering across their faces for the first time. The tall man's gun wavers slightly. You're bluffing, kid. Tommy opens his jacket, shows them the small tape recorder he's been carrying. Want to hear Mama explain how Senator Webb murdered girls who tried to leave, how he paid Sheriff Williams to cover it up, how Judge Patterson helped him fake death certificates. Frank realizes Tommy's playing a game of poker with stakes higher than life and death. The boy's betting everything on a bluff that could save them both or get them killed. The tall man's finger tightens on his gun trigger. Nice try, kid, but dead boys don't mail letters. That's when the third voice cuts through the darkness, cold and sharp as winter wind. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Aunt Pearl steps into the clearing, shotgun held steady in weathered hands. Behind her, 4 other women emerge from the woods like ghosts materializing from memory. Frank recognizes the look in their eyes immediately, the same haunted determination Mary carried, the same quiet rage that burns slow and never dies. Pearl, Tommy's voice breaks with relief. Hey, baby boy, Rose told me you might need help. Pearl moves with the confidence of someone who's spent decades preparing for this moment. Her gray hair is pulled back tight, her face carved by years of waiting and planning. The other women spread out behind her, forming a semicircle that traps the 2 gunmen against the old well. The tall man with the gun turns toward Pearl, his weapon swinging in her direction. Ma'am, you're interfering with official business. Pearl laughs, cold and sharp as winter wind. Official business? That what you call hunting children in the woods? We have legal custody documents, court orders signed by... You have lies typed on fancy paper. Pearl motions to the women behind her. This here's Dolores Martinez. Marcus Webb married her sister Elena in 1989. Elena died 6 months later, fell down the stairs, they said. Dolores steps forward, a small woman with silver hair and eyes like flint. Her voice stays steady despite the tears cutting tracks down her cheeks. Elena was pregnant. She was planning to leave him. The fall broke her neck, but the autopsy showed finger-shaped bruises on her throat. Autopsy reports can be altered, the second gunman says. Not when you keep your own copies, Dolores replies. Not when you photograph everything before they can change it. Pearl continues her introductions like she's hosting a deadly family reunion. Martha Collins. Her daughter Sarah was 18 when she married the senator, died in a car crash a year later. Martha's voice shakes with 20 years of suppressed rage. Sarah called me the night she died, said she was coming home, said she had evidence that would put him in prison. Car went off the mountain road 2 hours later. Brake lines cut clean through. Frank realizes what's happening. These women haven't been hiding in the woods by accident. They've been waiting, watching, planning, building a network of survivors and witnesses that Marcus Webb never knew existed. The third woman speaks, her voice carrying the weight of institutional knowledge. I'm Helen Torres. My baby sister Melissa was 16 when Marcus Webb took her. She survived, but just barely. Lives in a care facility now. Can't speak right, can't walk without help, but she's alive. Helen holds up a manila envelope thick with documents. Been collecting evidence for 20 years. Hospital records, police reports, testimonies from girls who got away. Names of doctors who wouldn't ask questions. Names of judges who sealed files. The tall man looks nervous now, his gun hand trembling slightly. None of this is admissible in court. You're just bitter relatives making accusations against a respected politician. Maybe, Pearl interrupts, but we ain't going to court. Frank feels the temperature drop, recognizes the tone in Pearl's voice. Pearl, what are you saying? I'm saying Marcus Webb's had 30 years to hurt girls and hide behind his money and power. Time's up. The fourth woman steps forward, and Frank's breath catches. Claire Novak, maybe 60 years old, gray hair pulled back severe and practical. Her hands are scarred in patterns Frank recognizes, the same thin white lines Mary carried on her back, evidence of cigarettes pressed against skin until it blistered and scarred. I was his first wife, Claire says simply. Married him when I was 15. He kept me locked in that house for 10 years, tortured me for entertainment. Made other men use me while he watched and took photographs. Claire opens her jacket, reveals a small digital recording device clipped to her shirt. Been documenting everything since I escaped. Every girl he hurt, every official he paid off, every crime he covered up. Enough evidence to bring down half the state government. The second gunman speaks up, desperation creeping into his professional calm. You release that information, you'll destroy innocent people. Judge Patterson has a family. Sheriff Williams has kids in college. Think about what you're doing. Think about what? Helen Torres snaps. Think about the girls who died because those innocent people helped a monster cover his tracks. Think about the families who never got justice because your innocent people took bribes. Tommy tugs on Frank's sleeve. The bad men look scared now. He's right. Both gunmen keep glancing at the woods around them like they're expecting more people to emerge from every shadow. Frank realizes they came here expecting to intimidate one man and a frightened child. Instead, they've walked into an ambush decades in the making. Pearl addresses the gunman directly, her voice carrying the authority of someone who's already won. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk back to your car. You're going to call Senator Webb. You're going to tell him that Beth Carver's son is protected, and you're going to explain that if anything happens to this boy, or to Frank, or to any of us, everything we know becomes front-page news. You can't prove anything that would stick in court. Can't prove what? Claire holds up a thick folder. That Marcus Webb has been buying politicians for 30 years. That he killed at least 7 young women. That he's been running a trafficking ring out of that mansion. The tall man's gun wavers. Trafficking ring. Oh, honey, Dolores Martinez says sadly. You didn't know? Thought you were just collecting a runaway kid? Marcus has been selling girls to his rich friends for decades. High-dollar parties where powerful men buy children for the weekend. You've been working for a pimp. Frank watches the gunmen's faces change as the truth sinks in. Whatever they thought they signed up for, it wasn't this. They're realizing they've been working for something monstrous without understanding the full scope of the horror. Tommy speaks up, his young voice cutting through the adult tension like a clean blade. My mama said the truth always finds a way out. Said lies can hide for a while, but truth is stronger. He walks toward the tall man, no fear in his small frame. Frank wants to grab him, pull him back, but something about the boy's steady courage stops him. Mister, you got kids? The man nods reluctantly. You want them to grow up in a world where men like Marcus Webb get to hurt children and nobody stops them. The gun lowers inch by inch. The tall man looks at his partner, then at the women surrounding them. We were told the boy was kidnapped, that his father was worried sick. His father is worried, Pearl says. Worried his secrets are coming out. Worried he's finally going to pay for what he's done. Frank steps forward. You can still do the right thing. Walk away. Tell Webb you couldn't find us. The second gunman holsters his weapon. We need to make a phone call. Make all the calls you want, Claire says, but understand this. We've been planning this for 20 years. We've got copies of everything hidden in places he'll never find. Safe deposit boxes in 3 states. Lawyers with sealed instructions. If any of us disappear, if any of us have accidents, everything goes public. As the men walk back toward their car, shoulders hunched with the weight of what they've learned, Frank turns to Pearl. What happens now? Now we finish what Beth started. We make sure Marcus Webb never hurts another girl. Tommy looks up at Frank with Mary's storm cloud eyes. Will you help us? Frank thinks about Mary's scars, the ones she said came from falling off horses. Her nightmares that woke her screaming about invisible hands. The way she flinched when thunder rolled too loud across the mountains. The secrets she carried alone for so many years. The weight of protecting him from a truth too terrible to share. Yeah, boy. We'll help. Pearl nods like she expected nothing less. Then we better get ready. Marcus Webb's about to learn that some ghosts don't stay buried. Frank wakes to his phone ringing at 3 a.m, the sound cutting through dreams of Mary and empty graves. Tommy sleeps in the next room, finally safe after spending 2 days hiding in the mine shaft while reporters and state investigators swarm the county. The boy's been eating regular meals, taking hot baths, acting like the child he should have been allowed to be all along. Frank? Pearl's voice is tight with urgency. He's coming. Who's coming? Marcus. Just got word from my contact at the state police. Webb left his mansion an hour ago, driving alone, armed. Frank's blood chills. He sits up in bed, already reaching for his boots. I thought the arrest warrant was signed. Won't be signed until morning. Senators got Judge Patterson stalling the paperwork, buying himself one last night to clean up loose ends. Frank checks the locks on the front door, looks out of the windows into darkness. The forest surrounds the tavern like a black ocean, trees swaying in wind that sounds like whispered warnings. What's he want? The boy. The evidence. Probably figures if Tommy disappears, the whole case falls apart. I won't let him take Tommy. Frank, listen to me. We're coming. All of us. But it'll take time to get through the back roads without headlights. Can you keep Tommy safe for an hour? Frank loads his shotgun, checks the shells. Yeah, I can do that. He wakes Tommy gently, shaking the boy's shoulder until storm cloud eyes flutter open. Need you to hide, son. Remember the root cellar where I found you? Tommy's eyes snap wide awake, instantly alert. He's coming, isn't he? The bad man. Yeah, but he won't get you. I promise. They're moving toward the cellar when headlights sweep across the tavern windows, bright as searchlights cutting through the night. Too late to hide. Too late for anything but standing and fighting. A car door slams. Footsteps on gravel, slow and deliberate. Stay quiet, Frank whispers, pushing Tommy into the pantry behind bags of flour and canned goods. No matter what happens, you stay quiet until Pearl gets here. Someone knocks on the front door, polite, patient, the kind of knock a neighbor might use when borrowing sugar. Frank, this is Senator Webb. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Frank doesn't answer, checks his shotgun shells again, makes sure the safety is off. I know you're in there. I know the boy is too. This doesn't have to be difficult. We can handle this like civilized men. The knocking stops. Frank hears footsteps circling the building, testing windows, looking for weak points. Marcus Webb moves like a man who's done this before. The back door explodes inward with a crash that shakes the whole building. Wood splinters, hinges scream, and Marcus Webb steps into Frank's kitchen like he owns it. Tall, silver-haired, expensive clothes that probably cost more than Frank makes in 6 months. He looks like a politician, sounds like one too, but his eyes are cold and dead as winter stones. Where is he? Frank raises the shotgun, barrel pointed steady at Marcus's chest. Gone. State police took him into protective custody an hour ago. Marcus smiles, the expression never reaching his eyes. Frank, I've been in politics for 30 years. I know when someone's lying. Your face gives you away. He pulls out a pistol, keeps it low and casual like they're discussing the weather. The boy's here. The evidence is here. I'm going to destroy both. Then this whole nightmare disappears like it never happened. Evidence is already public. Reporters have copies of everything. Reporters have stories from damaged women with histories of mental illness. Without the boy's testimony, without those photographs, it's just hearsay. He said, she said, and dead women don't testify. Marcus moves deeper into the kitchen, gun trained on Frank with professional steadiness. You know what's interesting? I did a little research on you after my men reported back. Navy veteran, lost your wife to cancer 3 months ago. Grief can make a man do crazy things, make him imagine children that don't exist. Frank's finger tightens on the trigger. I know what you did to Mary. Mary? Marcus laughs, the sound harsh in the quiet kitchen. Her name was Beth. Beth Webb, my legal wife, the mother of my son, who stole my child and ran away in the middle of the night. She was escaping. You were torturing her. I was trying to help her. She had problems, serious problems, drug addiction, psychological instability. The hospital records will show that. I have documentation going back 15 years. Frank realizes Marcus has been building this story brick by brick, year after year. Every document, every witness, every official report designed to make Mary look like a crazy woman and Marcus look like the concerned husband trying to save his family. Where is the boy, Frank? I told you he's gone. Marcus fires once into the ceiling. The gunshot echoes through the tavern like thunder, and plaster dust rains down on their shoulders. Where is he? A small voice comes from the pantry, cutting through the ringing in Frank's ears. I'm here. Tommy? No. Tommy steps out from behind the flour bags, hands raised like he's seen in movies. His face is calm, older than his 8 years. Don't hurt Frank. He was just protecting me. Marcus stares at the boy, and his face changes, goes soft, almost gentle. The mask of a loving father sliding into place. Hello, son. I ain't your son. DNA says different. Court documents say different. 15 years of marriage certificates and birth records say different. Marcus holsters his gun, kneels down to Tommy's eye level. When he speaks, his voice is gentle, loving, everything a father should sound like. Tommy, you've been through something terrible, kidnapped, hidden away from your real family, filled with lies about me. But that's over now. Daddy's here to take you home. Frank watches Tommy's face. The boy doesn't flinch, doesn't step back. Just studies Marcus like he's looking at a poisonous snake. My mama left me a message before she died. Said if you ever found me, you'd sound nice at first. Said you were real good at pretending to be kind. Marcus's mask slips for just a second, something ugly flickering behind his eyes. Your mother was very sick, Tommy. She saw monsters that weren't there. The scars on her back were real. The broken bones were real. The other girls you hurt were real. Marcus stands slowly, his patience wearing thin. Son, you don't understand what happened between your mother and me. I understand you killed my mama, maybe not with your hands, but you killed her sure enough. The cancer was just finishing what you started years ago. That's when the lights go out, plunging the kitchen into darkness, thick as grave dirt. Frank hears movement in the blackness, then Pearl's voice from the shattered back door, calm and deadly. Evening, Marcus. Been a long time since we talked. Pearl and the other women surround Marcus in the dark kitchen, their forms like shadows made solid. Frank finds his flashlight on the counter, switches it on. The beam cuts through the darkness, revealing Marcus Webb looking smaller now, trapped between shotguns and memories he can't buy his way out of. Hello, Pearl. Still living in that shack in the woods. Still murdering children, Marcus. Tommy steps forward, no fear left in his small frame. The boy who hid in root cellars and mine shafts stands tall now, facing the monster who destroyed his mother's life. You killed Mama when she was 16, took away the girl she was supposed to be, made her scared of her own shadow for the rest of her life. Marcus tries one last time to sound reasonable, paternal. Tommy, these women have poisoned your mind against me. I'm your father. I love you. I poisoned his mind, a new voice says from the shattered doorway. Everyone turns. Claire Novak steps into the flashlight beam, holding a thick manila folder like it contains the secrets of the world. Her scarred hands shake slightly, but her voice stays steady. I told him exactly what you are, Marcus. What you did to me when I was 15. What you did to Beth. What you did to 17 other girls over 30 years. Marcus's carefully constructed composure finally cracks. His politician's mask falls away, revealing something desperate and ugly underneath. Claire, you're supposed to be dead. You tried hard enough. 3 times you hired men to kill me. Funny thing about these woods, though. Easy place to disappear. Easy place to watch from the shadows. Easy place to plan your downfall. Claire opens the folder, spreads photographs across Frank's kitchen table. Even in the flashlight's dim glow, Frank can see their official documents: police photos, crime scenes, hospital records, autopsy reports. 2 decades of evidence laid out like a prosecutor's case. Been building this for 20 years, following every girl you hurt, documenting every payoff you made, recording every phone call. You got sloppy, Marcus. Started believing your own lies about being untouchable. Marcus reaches for his gun. Frank's shotgun blast stops him cold, the sound echoing through the tavern like Judgment Day. Don't even think about it. Marcus raises his hands, blood seeping through his shirt where buckshot found its mark. Frank, you don't understand what you're dealing with. These women are criminals, vigilantes taking the law into their own hands. We're survivors, Helen Torres says quietly from the darkness, and we're done hiding from monsters like you. Tommy walks to the table, looks at the photographs of girls who could have been his sisters. Young faces, broken bodies, dreams cut short by a man who thought money and power made him God. What happens to him now? Now he faces justice, Pearl says, her shotgun never wavering. Real justice, not the bought and paid for kind he's been hiding behind. Claire pulls out her cell phone, the screen glowing blue in the darkness. State police are 5 minutes away. FBI is 10 minutes behind them. Turns out federal authorities get real interested when trafficking evidence crosses state lines. Frank hears sirens in the distance getting closer. The sound of justice finally arriving after 30 years of waiting. Marcus laughs, high and desperate. You think this ends anything? I have friends, connections everywhere, lawyers who'll tear apart every piece of evidence you think you have. Money that can buy new identities, new lives. I'll be free in 6 months. Had, Claire corrects him. You had those things. Until this morning when 3 major newspapers ran front-page stories about Senator Marcus Webb's crimes. Until your photograph appeared next to the words child trafficking and murder. Until your political friends started scrambling to distance themselves from the scandal. The sirens are loud now, almost at the tavern. Red and blue lights flash through the windows, painting the kitchen walls in colors of emergency and resolution. Marcus makes one last desperate play, lunging toward Tommy with his remaining strength. Frank's second shotgun blast puts him down hard, final and absolute. Tommy doesn't even flinch, just looks down at Marcus bleeding on the kitchen floor, the monster reduced to just another dying man. Mama said this day would come, said truth has a way of finding the light, no matter how deep you bury it. Pearl puts her arm around Tommy's shoulders. Your mama was a smart woman. State police flood the tavern like a river, breaking through a dam. FBI agents in bulletproof vests, crime scene photographers. The organized chaos of justice finally arriving after decades of corruption and silence. Frank gives his statement 3 times to 3 different agents. Tommy sits beside him through each telling, small hand in Frank's larger one. When the questions are finally done, the sun is rising through the kitchen windows, painting everything golden. What happens to the boy? Agent Martinez asks. Pearl speaks before Frank can answer. Tommy's got family now. People who'll love him and keep him safe. Frank looks down at Tommy, sees Mary's storm cloud eyes looking back. That sound good to you, son? Tommy nods solemnly. Can we still live at the tavern? I like the way you cook breakfast, and I want to learn how to make Mama's biscuit recipe. Frank's throat tightens with emotion. Yeah, boy. We can do that. 3 months later, Frank watches Tommy play in the woods behind the tavern. The boy laughs now, runs without looking over his shoulder. Sometimes Frank catches him talking to the trees, like he's sharing secrets with his mama's ghost. The trials made national news. Marcus Webb died in federal custody before sentencing. Heart attack, according to the official report, though rumors whispered about prison justice. Sheriff Williams and Judge Patterson got 20 years each. 17 families finally got answers about daughters who disappeared into Marcus Webb's web of power and cruelty. Frank reopens the tavern on a Tuesday morning. First customer is a young woman, maybe 25, who orders coffee and sits in the corner booth where Mary used to count receipts. You're Frank. I'm Sarah Martinez. My sister Elena was one of Marcus Webb's wives. Frank pours her coffee, hands steady. I'm sorry for your loss. Don't be sorry, be proud. What you and Tommy did, what those women did, You saved lives. Girls who would have been his next victims are safe now because you found the courage to fight back. Tommy bursts through the back door, dirty from playing, but grinning wide. Frank, Pearl's teaching me to track deer. Want to see the prints I found? In a minute, son. Say hello to Miss Martinez. Tommy walks over, offers a small, dirt-covered hand. Nice to meet you. Frank makes the best pancakes in 3 counties, and his bacon's even better. Sarah shakes his hand solemnly. I'll have to try them. As Tommy runs back outside, Sarah finishes her coffee. He looks happy. Yeah, Frank says, watching through the window as the boy chases butterflies. Happy looks good on him. Outside, Tommy's laughter echoes through the trees. Frank thinks about Mary, about Beth, about the scared girl who became a strong woman who saved her son by letting him go. The truth did find its way out, and sometimes Frank thinks, that's enough. Sometimes it's everything.